A focus group of undecided voters in Telford, a Leave voting marginal, hotly contested by Conservatives and Labour. This seat and others like it will decide the result of this election. I'm here with Jerry Latter from YouGov. So, Jerry, you picked the group for us. Who's in it and why did you pick them?
So we picked 10 voters in the constituency of Telford who haven't yet completely decided who they're going to vote for at the election.
OK, well, let's have a listen to what they said. I think you started off, didn't you, on how is the campaign going? What did they have to say?
I think the main theme is lies.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's the truth. Yeah.
Lies is the truth.
It's no, lies and sound bites and stuff that sounds good when it, or stuff that's supposed to sound good when it hits your ear. Performance. They're more worried about their performance rather than the substance of what they're saying.
Yeah. Rather than their policies, they're focusing mainly on putting the other person down rather than putting more
there was a lot
forward,
of that, wasn't there? Did you watch that debate as well? Yeah.
Just a bit childish, really, rather than saying the truth or talking policies.
It just seems like a showtime, doesn't it? Popularity contest, and like you say, one playing one off the other, and it's just become a little bit of a farce.
It's as if they don't care about us. They tell us all this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and they'll get elected, and they're like, I didn't say that. Yeah. But you did, because we've got it. Oh, no, I didn't say that. We meant something else.
Are you glad we're in an election at the moment? Do you feel enthused by it? I think I know the answer to this. No. Enthusiastic about there being a new government?
No, not at this time of year. I reckon they should have postponed this until after Christmas. Yeah. It's just put like a dampener, a blanket over things, hasn't it?
But did you feel frustrated by the Parliament we just had?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's time
I think
change,
it was time for one. It was necessary, like it might be necessary to go to the dentist.
Yes.
It's personal attacks, and I think it's quite strange for me because I believe like the election campaign very much started on Brexit. That was its main theme, but all of a sudden I feel as though it's changed. Brexit's getting pushed a bit further back now, and people are starting to look at their policies.
Is that a good thing?
Me personally, no, because this election needs to be on Brexit because that's the biggest thing that's facing our country at the moment, and I feel that's what people should be voting for who we think is going to get us through.
So Angela disagrees with you?
I do disagree. There are things happening in Telford alone that are far, far more important than Brexit. I mean, does anybody even know what Brexit stands for?
So, Jerry, what I picked up there is anger, irritation, disillusionment with politicians, and also a bit of a battle, really, about, is it about Brexit or is it about other things? Obviously, Boris Johnson needs it to be about Brexit. Jeremy Corbyn needs all these people there to think it's about the NHS or public services, right?
As much as they want to have interesting discussions about characters, about personalities, fundamentally it does come down to Brexit.
OK, well, we talked to them about Brexit, didn't we? So let's see what they thought about it.
Sorry, but it's all about Brexit and anything else is a sideshow.
Yeah, once there's been a decision about leaving or staying in the EU, then everything else will follow on. It doesn't matter what they promise about rail, water, NHS, whatever. Nothing will happen until a decision is made about Brexit, and it either happens or not.
We didn't know what it entailed, what was going to happen, the effects of it. That will then make people feel like, you know, what we've been told, whether it was truth or not truth, and that will then, our future opinions of the politicians will change according to that, I think.
Do you think the Conservatives can both get Brexit done and unleash Britain's potential?
No.
What do you think?
I don't.
It's just a
catchphrase. I'll come to you next.
I don't think they can, because if they could have done it, it would have been done by now. You can't go in and say, OK, this is what we want, and then the EU turn around and say, well, no. And they say, OK, so they go off, come back with exactly the same paper and say, OK, look, here we go. And they're like, but that's what you've just brought us. There's nothing been changed.
Jeremy Corbyn will just call for a referendum and then he'll want to vote.
And I think that's maybe right, because I think if people knew what we was voting for 3 years ago, we would have voted very different, I believe, because we're fed up of it now.
I just find that other countries have also looking at it's like the butt of that joke, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Look, they take the mick out of the fact, oh, England's going through Brexit, and it's everywhere. Whenever you go on holiday, you hear it from other people. It's just like it's quite sad to be seen like that at the minute.
Well, there's Brexit fatigue there, isn't there, and Brexit frustration. But did you get a sense that there might be Labour voters there that might lend Boris Johnson a vote because they want to, quote, get Brexit done?
Most definitely. And that fatigue, I think, definitely plays into Boris Johnson's hands. People are sick of hearing about Brexit. Strangely, they love talking about Brexit, but they're sick of hearing about Brexit. But I think at the same time, that Brexit fatigue will work for him. People just want a resolution to Brexit.
So they want Brexit resolution, but Jeremy Corbyn's predicating his success on the fact that voters think the election's about other things other than Brexit. So what did they think about Jeremy Corbyn and Labour?
I do believe Jeremy Corbyn has come out only ever so slightly above Boris Johnson.
In terms of?
In terms of he seems more honest in what he's saying, so long as he's not against Boris Johnson in the same room having a debate with each other, then he's more honest if he's by himself.
From watching different interviews with him, he doesn't seem to have, as some of the other politicians, answers to all the questions, but other questions he just seems to, he'll never give a straight answer. It's almost as though he'll try and evade it and move on to another question.
I'm just going with who I feel is more at the moment an honest and nice person, which is Jeremy Corbyn at the moment. Whether I'm right with that or not, but that's what I believe at the moment, yeah.
How would you describe the current Labour Party and what it stands for?
Good old-fashioned 70s socialism. No, pretty scary, really. That very much feels like a step backwards.
I think he's doing a good job at standing for the working class, isn't he?
Yes. More about the people, like thinking about what people are really worried, their concerns.
For the people, and like what they're doing because I'm a student, like what they're doing for the students, like with the free, like the uni fees. Obviously, it's an incentive for more people to for more students to kind of go to uni.
They clearly want to redistribute wealth in some way, but some of the one or two of the ideas they've come up with, I'm not particularly happy with. For instance, wanting to tax people with second houses that might have bought them as a pension plan rather than invest in a pension.
Jerry, I was a bit surprised by what they said about Jeremy Corbyn because he started out being deeply, deeply unpopular, but there has been a bit of an uptick in his polling. And is it a case of the more people see of him, they like him a little bit more? And it is all relative, of course.
We've seen just today a large uptick in terms of Jeremy Corbyn's net favourability. So that is borne out, that does suggest that the longer this campaign goes on, the sicker people get of Boris and the more they like Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, let's have a listen to what they had to say about Boris Johnson and the Conservatives.
I just think he's got himself in trouble himself by telling lies and things, and people are turning away from that. I mean, like when he went to the Queen with all that saying he had the permission, people are like, he's supposed to be running our country. And when he's telling lies, it doesn't let you trust him.
If it was still Theresa May in this place, I feel as though I would trust her more than I do Boris Johnson. It's just him and it's his antics and it's what he gets up to and the way he says
things. Even she showed emotion even when she was leaving, sort of thing. And with him, there is no emotion. No. There's nothing.
If the election goes his way, he will have more people who will go along with the Brexit vote, who will say yes because he'll have a majority.
So are we saying that he's only an effective leader when he's got a gang of yes men backing him up?
Yes.
Well, aren't they all?
That's what I think.
I mean,
well, apparently not, because they didn't all vote for Brexit. In fact, isn't it a triumph of parliamentary democracy that Parliament blocked doing the silly thing?
No, it's not a triumph because the majority of people, might have been a small majority, but the majority of people voted to leave.
But just in terms of what the Conservative Party stands for, does it stand for business, the union, workers?
No, more business.
I said equality before, I'd say division for this answer. Probably the opposite of what I said about the Labour Party, yeah.
And you said middle class. Does it stand for the middle classes?
Yeah, the bankers
the
and the
money,
Eton schoolboys and stuff, yeah.
And upper class as well. I think Boris Johnson and Conservatives stand for more than anything.
I did like the Conservative Party marginally, but to be honest, I think I think there's much of a muchness in what they say, whether we can believe them. That it's like throwing a dice.
Jerry, that just reaffirms the idea that Boris Johnson has huge trust issues with the voters, and perhaps they are throwing a dice and taking a risk on him because they want Brexit.
We assumed at the start of the campaign that Boris Johnson was an electoral asset. That doesn't seem to be the case for a lot of people who emotionally and politically are aligned to Labour, a lot of whom will be voting Conservative because of Brexit. But the more they hear and see of Boris Johnson, the less inclined they are to do that.
I think it would be really great if, when you're watching, or when I'm watching Parliament on TV, which I do quite often, that they would stop braying like donkeys at each other. Yes. And actually get together and say, right, we're all here and we're all paid to do a job. Let's get on, pull together and get things sorted.
The voters in this room, just a tiny piece of the bigger electoral picture. But swing voters like them will decide this election in marginal seats in just a few days' time. Beth Rigby, Sky News.